Nicole Crowley. Welcome to another exciting episode of Science is Appealing. What's that in the sky? Is that a bird? No, it's not a bird. Could it be a plane? No, I know what it is. It's unidentified flying. And that's why today's episode is on ufology.
binoculars, and the best way I can describe it is there's some kind of reflective cloth or with a metallic-looking type of cloth of a structure that's definitely not rigid, or it's not a solid metal structure.
Tally Ho, can you get a still imagery if you can, and any estimate on size or range?
There we go. Well, let's see, we've had visitors again. Yeah. Hardly worth mentioning. Agree.
Do you believe in life on other planets?
Oh yes, there's not much question at all, but there's life throughout the universe. We're not alone in the universe at all.
You're convinced that we're not alone in the universe?
Oh, I know for sure we're not alone in the universe. And I happen to be privileged enough to have been on the fact that we have been visited on this planet. And the UFO phenomenon is real, although it's been covered up by our governments for quite a long time. It is a real phenomenon, and there's quite a few of us. It's been well covered up by all of our governments for the last 60 years or so, but slowly it's leaked out, and some of us are privileged to have been briefed on some of it. But I've also been in military circles and intelligence circles that knows beneath the surface of what has been public knowledge that, yes, we have been visited. I have been deeply involved in certain committees and certain research programs with very credible scientists and very intelligence people that do know the real inside story, and I am not hesitant to talk about it. There's been there's quite a bit of contact going on. We have been visited. The Roswell crash was real, and a number of other contacts have been real and ongoing. It's pretty well known to those of us who have been briefed and been close to the subject matter. And that there's UFOs in the skies all the time that are very likely alien craft. Now, not all of them are. I suspect some of them are homegrown. I suspect that in the last 60 years or so, that there has been some back engineering and the creation of this type of equipment, but it's not nearly as sophisticated yet as what the apparent visitor.
For over 50 years, the study of ufology has puzzled and intrigued scientists and even presidents.
Oh yes, we discussed it at every conference that we had with the military. There's always things like that going on. Flying saucers, and they've had other things, you know, if I'm not mistaken.
About the time you once saw a UFO?
Well, I was the district governor of 56 Lions clubs in southwest Georgia, and I had to visit all the Lions clubs and make a speech. And I was outside a school lunchroom one night, right before sundown. It was getting dark, and we were getting ready to eat supper. And I and about 25 men were standing around, and all of a sudden, in the western sky, we saw a strange light coming toward us, a round light, and it got closer and closer, and right above the pine trees, it stopped, and then it began to change colors from blue to red to white. And then it stayed there for a while. We were all aghast. We didn't know what it was. And then it just disappeared into the west. That was the end of it. So it was a genuine UFO in that it was an unidentified flying object.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
I think it's time to open the books on questions that have remained in the dark, on the question of government investigations of UFOs. It's time to find out what the truth really is that's out there. We ought to do it really because it's right. We ought to do it because the American people, quite frankly, can handle the truth. And we ought to do it because it's the law.
If you spot a UFO, here's what you should do. Don't be afraid. Chances are the people inside will not look like this.
I came here to give you these facts. But if you threaten to extend your violence, this earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
With the swiftness of a deadly cosmic ray, the Earth is invaded by indestructible moon monsters. Their ghastly mission, death for all humans. What astounding technical developments are being made to protect mankind? Robot Monster brings you an actual preview of the devastating forces of our future. Unsuspected revelations of incredible horrors that will terrify you with their brutal reality.
There is no escape from me. Fool humans.
Various groups that do investigations on this. Throughout the years, numerous people have spotted and filmed unidentified flying objects.
According to videographer and eyewitness Gary O'Callahan, there was a UFO in the sky visible from New York City. Does this image look like a kite to you? Or how about a piece of floating debris? Well, you'll think differently when you see the same footage again in 1/10 of its playback speed. Notice that it appears to separate into two pieces. The question then is, can a kite or floating piece of debris give the same image when it too is slowed down to 1/10 of the playback speed? Here is a kite with the same percentage of slow motion applied. You will notice that there is no separation. It remains intact. That is because the speed of the kite is not fast enough to cause a conflict with the speed of the recording DVD. So we have to find something that is faster than a kite. For example, an airplane. A plane is faster than the kite, so will that cause a conflict with the speed of the recording DVD? Luckily, there was a plane that flew past the UFO just seconds after the UFO disappeared into the clouds. So let's take a look at the plane once it's slowed down to 1/10 of the playback speed. You will notice that due to the plane's speed, there is a conflict that causes distortion. Here is a UFO image slowed down again. You'll notice that the separation of the UFO is greater than the separation of the airplane. The reason for this is that the UFO is traveling at a speed much greater than the airplane. In a minute, footage of the UFO will be played, without any subtitles, and with only natural sound. But first, let's take a look at what others around the world saw on this day in history.
Our viewers took guesses on what it could be. Here are some of the guesses. Experts at MUFON say it is not a bird, it is not debris, it's not a balloon or a kite. Although they cannot say for sure what it is, they do know that objects on this flying aircraft look like either an antenna or landing gear. They say it could be a manned or unmanned aircraft.
You're about to see what we call the interdimensional shift sequence. It's an amazing sequence because it shows something actually moving from one dimension into another. A UFO that appears to just suddenly come from nowhere, as if from another dimension. But now we have a little bit of an idea of what that actually means. You're going to see the curvature of the Earth down here, and you're going to see a lot of lightning flashes on the ground here. And then you're going to see a brightly glowing object kind of moving very slowly into frame here, and then it kind of just stops around here. And there'll be a lot of what appear to be, again, what NASA will try to tell us are shooting stars or meteorites streaking by, some of them actually leaving the Earth. You're going to see things coming straight in and disappearing into the clouds. It's really a powerful scene. But watch up here. At about this point in the screen, keep your eyes focused there, because all of a sudden, out of the black void of space, above the Earth, a disk with the familiar shape just suddenly, out of nowhere, just appears. How did this happen? The space shuttle's actual cameras, the black and white cameras that we're looking at, can see into the near ultraviolet, a frequency of light that humans can't see because it's too high in energy. We know that if the UFO is actually mass vibrating at a high frequency wave state, all the UFO has to do is go into a higher level of energy, and it can simply suddenly disappear. But in reverse, if the UFO were actually already in a higher frequency than the cameras could detect, somewhere up in the far ultraviolet or the X-ray or gamma ray spectrum, all it has to do is slow its energy down to that equal to the energy levels of the near ultraviolet or the visible light, and suddenly the UFO would appear. I remember in 1968 when I saw the first and only daylight UFO I'd ever seen. For over half an hour I watched with hundreds of people in amazement in Berkeley, California in 1968, looking up into the sky, and we watched this disk, this incredibly visible metallic disk, just hover there, and all of a sudden blinking out and disappearing in a matter of a second. It didn't accelerate and go somewhere else, it actually just disappeared. So essentially the UFO I saw in 1968 did the same thing, but in reverse of what you're seeing here. This UFO is doing the opposite. It's slowing down in energy and suddenly just appears in our dimension, and all of a sudden it just kind of drifts by, and you'll see a lot of other exciting things in this part of the video. As the space shuttle is moving in a prograde orbit around the Earth at 18,000 miles per hour, seen moving from right to left, we can now see a large disc-shaped unidentified flying object accelerating from the lower right beyond the speed of the space shuttle. Now the object slows down and appears to be hovering, an illusion caused as it flies at the same speed as the shuttle, as if following it, an impossible feat for a natural object. We see lightning flashes down on the ground and objects moving in all sorts of different directions down below. And now an object streaks by at amazing speed, far faster than the speed of any meteorite or shooting star or known manned spacecraft. Now in the center of the screen, we can see an unidentified flying object suddenly appearing, giving off a tremendous luminosity as it appears to be moving from the higher dimension of energies into a dimension where the visible wavelengths of the camera could observe its light. As we now understand the electromagnetic spectrum, and that the human eyes can only see the visible light spectrum, when an unidentified flying object moves from an energy dimension into our visibility, it is clearly changing frequency of its entire mass from a purely quantized energy state and lowering it to a level of energy where we can actually observe it.
Until next week, this is Nicole Crowley with Science is Appealing.